Nobody officially said it. No owner confirmed it. No contract story broke. But after one devastating weekend at Sonoma Raceway, two words started circulating through NASCAR that almost never stop once they begin. Bubba Wallace leaving. This is the story of how a single qualifying crash turned a driver's season upside down. Before that weekend, Bubba Wallace was not a driver in crisis. He was a driver with momentum. To understand how big the swing was, you have to go back a few weeks. At Michigan International Speedway on June 7th, 2026, Bubba Wallace brought the number 23 Toyota home in third place, his best finish of the 2026 season through 15 Cup Series races. After the race, he summed up the stretch he had just survived. "We've gone through a month of hell," Bubba Wallace told Prime Sports. That third-place run ended a long slump and put him back in contention. Then came Naval Base Coronado near San Diego on June 21st, 2026. Early in that race, the number 23 Toyota dropped 2 full laps behind the leaders after a loose wheel, and 2 crew members were later suspended by NASCAR. By every measure, that race should have been over before it really started. Bubba Wallace refused to quit. He charged through the field on speed, strategy, and sheer determination, and finished second, a career-best result on a street course. He even joked about a new alter ego, Bubba Hamilton, a nod to Formula One great Lewis Hamilton. Still, Bubba Wallace could not fully celebrate. "It's what if," he said. Tired of living in that. That second-place finish jumped him 2 spots to 11th in the points standings. With back-to-back top 5 finishes at Michigan and San Diego, he was alive in the playoff picture. The narrative going into Sonoma was clear. This man had momentum. And then Sonoma happened. Bubba Wallace was placed in Group 2 of Sonoma qualifying. His first lap produced a time of 1 minute, 15.887 seconds, slotting him provisionally inside the top 10. The number 23 showed genuine speed, and he had recorded the 4th fastest lap in practice. The team was confident. Bubba Wallace pushed harder on his second lap. Exiting turn 9, he ran slightly wide. The left rear of the Toyota dropped into the gravel runoff area. All grip was gone in an instant. The car spun 180 degrees and went nose first into the safer barrier between turns 9 and 10. Bubba Wallace climbed out under his own power, but the car could not continue. The front-end damage was extensive, and under NASCAR rules, unapproved repairs meant starting from the rear of a 36-car field. He was not the only driver in that position. Legacy Motor Club's Eric Jones, in the number 43, and Front Row Motorsports' Noah Gragson in the number 4, were also set to drop to the rear after unapproved adjustments and repairs. Crashes and penalties happen to many drivers on any given weekend, but Sonoma Raceway is statistically one of the hardest tracks in the NASCAR Cup Series to pass on, and Bubba Wallace would start dead last. The numbers explain why this stung so much. Road courses are statistically his worst surface. Across 37 NASCAR Cup Series road course starts, his career average finish on road courses sits at 21.8. Sonoma specifically ranks as one of his worst tracks, with an average finish of 24.0, the worst at any track with 7 or more starts, according to NASCAR.com. The 2026 NASCAR Cup Series schedule features only 4 road courses, so every single road course race carries double the weight for this team. They cannot afford to waste them. And they wasted one before the green flag even dropped. The crash was barely an hour old before the speculation started. Not on pit road, not in the garage, but on social media, where NASCAR's silly season lives between official announcements. Fans began connecting unrelated events into one larger storyline. One difficult week became 2. 2 became a pattern. A pattern became a question. A compounding factor fueled it. NASCAR issued official suspensions to members of the 2311 racing team for the loose wheel at San Diego. Rear tire changer Adam Hartman and jackman Nathan Ricketts were suspended for the next 2 events, running through Chicagoland Speedway on July 5th, 2026. That meant Bubba Wallace had to work with replacement crew members at Sonoma, and he was frustrated. Reporter Bob Pockras shared that before qualifying, Bubba Wallace talked about not having time to work with the replacement pit crew members, and about handling the ups and downs of this season. It's unfortunate for our 23 group, but these guys have been practicing, Bubba Wallace said. It sucks. So why does one driver's bad weekend spark a contract story while another's fades by Monday morning? The answer is about expectations, not raw results. Consider his teammate Tyler Reddick, who in 2026 has delivered race wins, championship-caliber speed, and consistent front-running results. Even after his own difficult moment at Coronado, where he publicly accepted responsibility for late mistakes, Tyler Reddick bounced back without the narrative collapsing around him. The difference is visibility. Bubba Wallace is the only black driver racing full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series. He is one of NASCAR's most recognizable personalities and biggest marketing figures. Television cameras follow him more closely than almost anyone else in the field. Radio conversations receive more attention. Every mistake becomes a headline, while similar incidents involving other drivers often disappear within one news cycle. As one analyst framing put it, the conversation is not only about whether Bubba Wallace is good enough. It is about whether the expectations surrounding him have grown so large that no single result, good or bad, can ever fully satisfy them. Here is where the speculation runs into a hard fact. Commercial investment in Bubba Wallace has not slowed. Upper Deck announced a Space Jam paint scheme for the number 23 Toyota at Chicagoland Speedway on July 5, 2026, honoring the 30th anniversary of the 1996 film, which features NBA legend and 23XI Racing co-owner Michael Jordan. Jason Machera, president of Upper Deck, described the project. "This is a massive celebration of fandom," he said. Steve Laletta, president of 23XI, framed what the partnership does for the team. "Our partnership with Upper Deck continues to result in one-of-a-kind memorabilia that expands well beyond just the racetrack, allowing 23XI to reach both current and new audiences," he said. "Sponsors do not put a marquee Space Jam activation on a car they are walking away from. It is a commercial vote of confidence wrapped in a purple paint scheme." There is more on the side of stability. Bubba Wallace signed a multi-year contract extension with 23XI Racing back in September 2024. And Corey Heim, who earned his first career Cup win at San Diego, is set to become a full-time teammate in 2027 as driver of the team's new number 35 Toyota. That points to expansion, not replacement. The reaction across the sport was divided. The overreaction camp pushed back hard. The argument was simple. Bubba Wallace just finished second the week before, and one crash should not suddenly erase everything he built this season. Others asked where the evidence was, pointing out that fans were connecting dots that did not officially exist. The caution camp complicated that. Their point was that the value of Bubba Wallace to 23XI has never been just statistics. Leadership, sponsors, visibility, and performance all factor into the equation, which is why the story is bigger than one crash. Then NASCAR reporter Jeff Gluck cut through all of it, noting that until there is actual evidence, it is still just speculation, not a contract story. The official responses from the team are worth reading closely. The 23XI Racing account posted that it was a tough break in qualifying, but the team had overcome adversity before, would get the number 23 ready, and would fight from the back. Denny Hamlin wrote that one qualifying crash does not define a season, and that the plan was to keep the head down, fix the car, execute the strategy, and go race. Tyler Reddick said that road courses punish every mistake, that Bubba Wallace had speed all weekend, and that the next day was about maximizing every lap and staying in the fight. Notice what none of those statements said. Nobody talked about the future. Nobody talked about the contract. Nobody said 2311 is committed to Bubba Wallace long term. They addressed the crash. They addressed Sunday's race. Everything beyond that moment was left completely untouched. In NASCAR, what organizations choose not to say is sometimes read as louder than what they do, though that remains an interpretation rather than proof of anything. So it helps to reset to the verified facts. Bubba Wallace is still a 2311 racing driver. He remains in the provisional playoff picture. No contract dispute has been confirmed. No exit has been announced. The number 23 Toyota took the green flag at Sonoma from the rear of the field. Reporter Bob Pockrass put the immediate stakes in plain terms, explaining that the crash changes the starting position for Bubba Wallace, not necessarily his playoff outlook, and that the bigger question is whether can recover on a track where passing is notoriously difficult. That word, bigger, matters, because there is a larger question underneath all of this. Bubba Wallace has answered his critics before. He turned Naval Base Coronado into a career moment when many people expected him to disappear in the chaos. He has done it before, and he can do it again. So the question this time is not whether Bubba Wallace can bounce back. The question is whether bouncing back is still enough inside an organization that was never built to settle for anything less than a championship. When 2311 Racing was founded by Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, the vision was never mediocrity. It was championships, superstar drivers, and long-term dominance. That was always the standard. And that question does not get answered at Sonoma. It only gets louder. So here is what is worth debating. Do you think Bubba Wallace has what it takes to secure his future at 2311 Racing? Or is Sonoma a turning point this season cannot afford? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you know someone who follows NASCAR closely, share this story with them, because this is exactly the kind of story worth talking about with Bubba Wallace.